Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Time for another Mealworms and More. We're going to just get gathered here. We'll start at our normal 4 after the hour. Let me turn off some of the noise. And hopefully we don't have technical issues with the camera because it's a new phone. Excited about that. I've got my water beverage. I'll give folks a minute to join. As you guys start joining, can you give me an audio and video check? Is everything okay? Any problems? Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. We're just gathering. Audio video check. Thank you, Hansa. Cheers. I'm going with, what is this? Lime. Unsweetened sparkling water. And we are mobile today, so we can go out to the front part of the farm if we need to. Ben is doing beetle swap right now and some reorganizing of the trays. So I don't want to go in there without a mask on. If we need to, we can go in there. But we have plenty of things we could chat about if we need to. Good evening in the EU. Love it. Good morning, Umar. We'll get started at 4 after. Hopefully everyone had a good week. It's been busy. I couldn't believe that it was already Friday. A lot going on. Blake, welcome. Wally, so disappointed it's not Coke. Yeah. A little too early for the soda. I had some yesterday. I tried to break it up and not drink too much soda. Yeah, it's been a productive week already. Hopefully you guys have been productive as well. Weather is good. Yesterday was windy and cold. Needed to get trays washed and put that off to today. Hopefully that was a mistake. Was not a mistake because it's supposed to be warmer today. We have enough trays to do beetle swap today, but need them washed. So I'm going to take one for the team. We still don't have running water here, so I need to run water from next door via a hose and then sit outside and spray. So I'm going to go out there and do that today, hopefully. Blake, sifter. Big news on the sifter. Well, we can chat about that. And I'm mobile and on a good new phone, so we won't have any technical issues, hopefully. Robin, welcome. We'll get started in another minute. If you guys have any questions, concerns, anything you want to chat about your mealworm colony, successes, failures, things you're curious about, go ahead and start throwing those in the comments. And we'll run through those today. We are booked for an hour. So I need to get some orders prepped and delivered up to Columbia. I need to get that done this afternoon and then get some trays washed. So we'll try to stick to ending things or wrapping things up at the top of the hour, which will be 11 a.m. Central for me. But if we have a lot of good things going on, we might keep going. So we'll see. All right. Well, let's officially get rolling. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Justin Meyer. I own and run Midwest Mealworms here in Central Missouri, and we're doing a live out of our Mealworm Farming Co-op group. So I'm an admin there. Max started it a while ago, and I've been lucky enough to join the team, and I'm doing these live events ideally once a week. I already have the next one scheduled, so there's one scheduled for next week as well. If you would like an email reminder, I did send one out yesterday. If you'd like an email reminder, shoot me a DM with your email address and the request to add you to the list. I send out an email to myself and then BCC everyone, so your email is not shared with anybody, and I don't use it for anything anything else other than just sending you the notification 24 hours ahead of the events that, hey, there's an event tomorrow. So if you'd like that, go ahead and shoot me a DM. If you've already done that, if you already sent me your email, you don't have to send it for each one. I will just continue to do it, and then once you don't want it anymore, go ahead and let me know, and I'll take you off the list. So. All right, Umar, so I want to know about how to dry mealworms. Okay, so drying mealworms can be done in a lot of different ways. And so the way I do it here, I actually have a microwave dehydrator. You could also freeze dry them. You can do them in the oven as well. There was an account I saw on Instagram that was doing a video tutorial on it. I need to go check that and see kind of where they're at, because they were going to do a full long video on that to try and help us out here, because a lot of folks have been asking about that. So let me go, I'm going to make a note to follow up with them and see how that video is going. They were just doing it on their own, so maybe things got busy, but I'll follow up with them. So I use a big old microwave dehydrator. It's a commercial option. I was lucky enough to sort of fall into that whenever the company that sold me the trays from Texas, whenever they closed down, they also had the dehydrator and a couple other pieces of equipment, so I just purchased it all. It was a really good deal, and it was the right timing, basically. So that's why I used that one. I would like to look into freeze drying or some other method, just to have options and experience it, but right now I'm doing the microwave dehydrator. From a simple at-home option, Umar, I'm not sure how much space you have or what quantities you're trying to do, but from a small quantity perspective, a standard oven will work just fine. You want to deep freeze them or freeze them for about 1 to 2 days, and then pop them into the oven at your lowest setting to just let them go. And they'll visually look unappealing. They will... they'll turn black, and that's just the oils in them. That's just because of the way that they're being dehydrated or dried. They're still perfectly fine and able to be used. They just won't look visually appealing. So if you're trying to sell them, that's that's a barrier or obstacle you might have. But you can explain that it's the natural oils in the mealworms. It's not anything that's chemically wrong or bad with them. It's just a method from a dehydration perspective that is impactful when you do it in the oven. So. Let's see, Wally, quick update. Keeping those mealworms that are ready to pupate healthier with carrots and getting much better pupa to beetle conversion. Thank you for the pointer. Awesome! And I'm going to ask Wally, you had a mask on while you were working with him, right? I hope so. Blake, you won a gecko from the 12 Supreme Days of Christmas? That's awesome! Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Wally's running an awesome giveaway right now, the 12 Supreme Days of Christmas. So check that out on Facebook, 12 SDOC. There's a couple things from Midwest Mealworms in there, so you could get some of those. But lots of good giveaways for reptile folks. Wally's working his butt off over there. Oh, one of the things I forgot to mention at the beginning, if it seems like I am not responding or addressing your comment or your question or something like that, it could be because I'm not seeing it. I'm curious to see if my new phone here doesn't have that issue. Maybe it was a phone issue on my end. But if it seems like I'm ignoring you and I haven't gotten down to or I've gone beyond where your comment or question is, feel free to tag me or shoot me a DM. Sometimes in the past I haven't been able to see those. You're welcome, sir. You're welcome, Wally, for the donations. All right. I was having some computer issues, so I'm going to plug that back in case anyone needs to DM me. If I switch over to DMs or when the live is going, it usually boots me. All right. So how are the BSF going? Good. So I did get some agreement from a local supplier to get 600 pounds of food waste, which is the amount I need. So my plan was to put black soldier fly larvae, neonates, which are going to be 0 to 1 day old larvae. They'll get shipped to me overnight. I'm going to need about 320,000 of those because I'm going to fill the oh, what's that? The growing tent, the grow tent. I'm going to fill that grow tent, which is a 4 by 8 by 8 grow tent, 4 foot by 8 foot by 8 foot. I'm going to fill that with 140 of the blue trays, and I'm going to use 320-ish, 330-ish thousand neonates. And they'll need 600 pounds of food divided up equally among those trays, both the neonates and the food. So I found a local supplier who's going to work with me on that. We're going to run that experiment together. Now my hang up is trays. So I need 140 of those trays. I might have those ready to clean. We'll see how today goes. But I also have put in an order for 3 more pallets of trays from Tricycle up in Canada. And I need to make a post about that. Alexis and Tricycle up there have been fantastic, so I need to get that posted. Tricycle and Facebook post. So if I can get the trays, then it's just a matter of doing it. So once I start that, it should be a 10 to 14 day turnover until the larvae are done and all of the food waste has been consumed, and then it's a processing thing from that point. Which coincidentally enough, the new sifting horizontal sifting machine will also hopefully work for the black soldier fly larvae. So looking forward to that. He's got selective reading and hearing. Yes, sometimes I do. Yeah. Okay. All right, so let's go take a look at the sifting machine, shall we? We're going to take a walk. I'll turn you guys around so you don't have to see my fantastic mug the whole time. Show me how to raise BSF without the big mess. I don't know about that. I'm a rookie. I've never done it before. So this is the sifting machine. There's the item number. It doesn't have the manufacturer. This is just a standard thing you can purchase at any point. I don't have the manufacturer, but there's the item number 230226. And so what this is a vibration table basically. So let's take a look at the bottom. There are 2 motors over here, those 2 guys, and they need to run in parallel, so both have to be on and running, and then that way it keeps the machine balanced. And basically what we've got here is chutes that come out. So there are actually 3. So the 2 you see there, this one is obviously from the top. There's another sifting plate below this with smaller holes that comes out here. And then below that is where the frass will come out. And so I did do a test run. Had some issues with mealworms coming out with the frass. And what I think was happening is as they were falling off, they were coming down here and bouncing backwards. So I think a small alteration is going to be some sort of ledge here to stop that from happening, as well as on the bottom one. But basically there's 2 grates secured in there. You can see the third one, or 2 sieves. You can see the second one in there. Here's the top one. And then they are secured with these guys here and some spacers in between. So they lock down. So these are solid. These aren't going to go anywhere. The machine plugs in, and then you have control knobs, one for each motor, and then it just vibrates. It's already slanted, so I don't have to mess with that. And then you pour them in the front, or the back, I guess, from this angle. Put them in the back there, and then they just shake and come out. What Ben and I saw, we tested this Wednesday, and what I did is I took this mesh, which is the 1/30th mesh for frass, and I secured it down here on the bottom one, down on this guy, just temporarily, just to test it and play with it. It worked fairly well. The issue that I had is there was some clumping or bunching of the worms because the mesh wasn't flat, right? So that's just a manufacturer thing. I'm going to need custom sieves anyway, so I'm going to talk to a local metal worker and have 2 of these made. One for the bottom is going to be the mesh, the 1/30th mesh to sift the frass, and then the top one to start out with is going to be a sifter for medium mealworms and hopefully the pupa as well. So I'm going to do the harvesting process first, test that out, and see how things work. But so far, I'm pretty excited with how this worked yesterday, or not yesterday, Wednesday. It was nice and quiet, and I say quiet, sort of quiet. As long as the two motors are running in parallel, it doesn't do much from a noise perspective. Although inside the insect room, which is, it's sealed, it's fairly echoey. So I had earplugs in just because I didn't want to listen to it. It wasn't terrible though. So far it's got a lot of promise. One of the things that Ben and I walked through yesterday that we might do, I keep saying yesterday, Wednesday. This thing here, like right now I can separate out 3 different outputs, right? It would be nice if I could potentially do another one. And so what we talked about is this thing can come off, and basically we put another spacer in here and another section for another sieve. And basically have it shoot out from here, we'll shoot it out this way into a separate area. That might be complicating it a bit. We were trying to solve a problem that may not exist once we start using this routinely. So today we have an issue where because of the volume that we have to do and the manual method we're doing, we get behind a little bit, and so we'll have pupation and beetles that will hatch. And so that's an issue from just a volume perspective. And so right now we're having to separate those out when we harvest. In the future with this thing, the goal is going to be that we're able to keep up with that. And so we won't have to have this extra layer here, this extra sieve to separate those out. So we're going to run it and just see how it works with 2 in there, see if we're able to get rid of that problem we have now, and then increase production and not get behind. So fingers crossed. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I did not get any video of it actually working, unfortunately. I got much too excited and into it and just started working, and all of a sudden it was done and over with. So I did not get a video of that, but I will once we've got it set up and going. So yeah, I'm excited. Lots of good stuff there. Umar, can you show your microwave dryer if possible? Yeah. Let's walk over there and do that. So any questions about this vibration machine, just let me know. Let's take a walk here. This was my day yesterday, getting that, not my whole day, but part of it. I got the frass bucketed up, 60 pounds in each tote there. All right, so let's head over to the dehydrator. You don't have to use the ladder to get into it. So this is a Max industrial microwave. This was the unit that the previous owner, they utilized this to do their dehydrating. It works pretty well. Open it up here. I don't have it plugged in, so it's not going to power up, but I like to unplug it whenever it's not in use. So these guys, these are the white trays that go in here. They go in on that. When the machine is running, this will spin. Then there's a fan that will turn on. There's a light in there too with you've got a little video monitor so you can watch what's going on. And then they'll rotate in there. They will dehydrate for the set time. And so that time is here. Right now it's set to 11 minutes, and that will take care of about 10 to 12,000 mealworms. So it does take 11 minutes of this thing running to dehydrate them in that amount. And then it expels. Right now it's expelling it up. That'll be vented out of the building once we have this permanently, part of the structure, if we continue using it. So dehydrated mealworms right now, the cost of making them and then me selling them is not viable. I can't compete with overseas prices. So how many kilowatts is the power? I can't remember. I don't remember, Umar. I don't see the... Oh, here we go. 6 kilowatts. Let me get... Oh, reflection there. I don't know if we can see it with the reflection, but 6 kilowatts right there of power. And there's all the unit information. Max Industrial Microwave, like their company is still active. They actually have a TikTok account. They're pretty good about responding to questions. So, they make and sell these still. This one was, 'd in 2020, so it's not too old of a unit. But,
2020, so it's not too old of a unit. But, yeah, Max Industrial Microwave, like they're companies is still active. They actually have a TikTok account. They're pretty good about responding to questions. So, they make and sell these still. This one was made in 2020, so it's not too old of a unit.
yeah, so far it's worked for what we've needed, which is very low volume. My concern from a larger volume perspective is to do 10,000 mealworms in 11 minutes. You're going to be going through, I mean, just sitting watching, and from a time perspective and efficiency perspective, to do large volumes with this just doesn't seem doable. So, yeah, we'll see. Good question, though. Good question. All right. I need a drink. I'm going to head back into the office. Okay, anybody else out there have any questions? I saw some folks jump in while we were out there talking about the new machine. You mentioned the competition. If you sold locally, does that give you a bit of an edge? No shipping costs to make it profitable. Yeah. Even at that, so I'm trying to remember the math that I did recently. So 10,000 mealworms will make, what was it? 10,000 mealworms will make, oh man, I gotta check math here again. It's still not financially beneficial. It makes more sense to continue selling those as live feeders while even selling as dehydrated. So 10,000 mealworms roughly is, and 60% of that is moisture. So that's the thing, like 10,000 live is going to be 60% water. And so when you dehydrate that, you're going to get like 450 grams, pounds. So that's a pound. Yeah. So 10,000 mealworms will get you 1 pound of dehydrated mealworms, roughly. Again, depends on quantity or depends on the size of your mealworms, right? So weight wise, that's roughly equivalent to where I'm at. So that's why I went with 10,000 when I did all this math. 10,000 grams and 10,000 mealworms. So 10,000 mealworms will get me 1 pound, which retail, I mean, you could sell that for $15 to $20, but that's high. That's very high. Once you get higher than that, like 2, 3, 4, 5 pounds, you're only looking at $20, $30, maybe $40. And those 10,000 mealworms can be sold to 2 different customers and still make more than the dehydrated. So it just doesn't make financial sense yet to do dehydrated primarily. What I am doing with the dehydrated though is I've made a few posts of this on my Facebook page and I want to say maybe LinkedIn and YouTube. Having an issue with Instagram lately that I'm still trying to work through, but I started selling my live mealworms on the blockchain via an NFT project called Root Troop. And so one of the things I'm doing there is I put some dehydrated mealworms. There was some interest from folks in that project to purchase dehydrated mealworms. So I put a listing up and have some that I need to make and sell now. But that's more of an R&D project for me than it is a business scenario I want to get into permanently. So that's more to facilitate the knowledge and the experience I want to get with Web3, blockchain, NFTs, etc. And so it's worth the loss, basically, is what it will be from a financial perspective. An overall value perspective for me, it's going to be immense because I'm going to get the experience, the info, and hopefully the future benefit of that. I think the last time I purchased dried mealworms, it was $11 for a pound. I'm thinking package them in smaller bags for pet treats. Yeah, it's an interesting scenario because you're starting to see more and more information out there around more higher end pet foods using insects as part of the protein to replace their current protein sources that go into those pet foods. Dog and cat food, primarily dried dog and cat food, is what I've been seeing. And then there's also, like the treat perspective. So it's a fun, almost gimmicky thing right now in the U.S. To get those treats that have been made with bugs and feed them to your animals. There is a company, and now that I'm live on screen here, my brain is not working. But Paul, who is in our group, their business over in the UK. Paul Walton. What is his name? I feel terrible. They actually use all of their mealworms for pet treats. They have their own line of pet treats. And I'm trying to find it. Why am my brain is not working? I know the answer, I just can't remember it. Let me go see if I can find it real quick. But that's where I see things sort of breaking through in the U.S. is from the pet feed perspective. Not necessarily somebody getting dried mealworms or dehydrated mealworms in a container that you can visibly see them and they're still in that shape, but taking them and grinding them up and putting them as part of an ingredient in an overall treat. Add some scratch greens with your dehydrated mealworms, pour in some molasses to hold it together, and you can get the flock block they sell for a good price to chicken folks. That's another avenue that could be pursued. The reason I haven't done that is because I tend to get carried away with all sorts of different side projects and experiments, and I want to focus that time on the black soldier fly. Because that really has my interest right now. I've got this whole model in my head that I want to test out and validate. And really, in order to do that, I need data on production, like real life data. It's one thing to see a spreadsheet or to talk to somebody who sells a product that will help with what it is that you want to do. And what I found, like my experience with mealworms, as I started raising them, there's research papers, there's anecdotal information, and then there's actual reality for your situation. And so my goal with the black soldier fly is to raise them here, get the data points I need around, is it a 10 to 14 day window? How long does it take for them to go through that? What do I need to do from a rearing perspective? How am I going to sift and sort them? And then what are the real world outputs from that? So those neonates will grow and be harvested. What's their final weight? How do I deal with preserving them or selling them? Same thing with the frass. How much frass am I going to get out of this? And then start putting some numbers together around the different models in my head that I'm working through. Let's see. Wally Bryce. Yes, people seem to be moving more towards healthier foods for their pets, homegrown, non-GMO. Yep. Those things are taking off, and now they're becoming more financially viable for a broader spectrum of people, because the insect production in the U.S. is starting to ramp up. There's a lot of activity happening in that realm. Large, big business type stuff. So smaller farms are still, we're trying to find each other, but it's not the huge thing that's coming down the pipe. Hypoallergenic too. Yeah, that's the other thing is because they're replacing what their previous protein sources were. It's a different set of scenarios. So like from a human perspective, I haven't looked into that for pets though. From a human perspective, if you're allergic to shellfish, there's the potential that you're allergic to insects as well from a consuming perspective. I don't know if that applies to pets as well. I don't have enough experience or knowledge in that realm to make an educated guess. Umar, black soldier fly is very sensitive. I don't recommend. Sensitive in what way? I'm curious. Sensitive in what way? All right. If anybody's been joining in the last half hour, we're halfway through. Quick time check. But if you have questions about raising mealworms, about issues that you might be having in your mealworm colony, successes you've had, we like to see those, celebrate those, learn from those, show those out, or share those out if you'd be willing to. Throw some comments in, throw some questions out, and we'll tackle them. To raise them, it is difficult. That's the thing. Like I've heard from some people it's pretty easy. I've heard from others it's not. And so I just want to tackle it myself. I would have told you that raising mealworms at this scale was not possible in the U.S. until I actually started doing it, because what I had seen beforehand was you need automation, you need robots, you need huge volumes to make it financially viable. And so far I'm proving that wrong. We'll see how that goes. But that's the other thing, like getting the actual real world experience. Like my expectation out of this test and this initial run isn't that I'm going to take those black soldier fly larvae and then be able to turn those and sell those immediately. I want to learn how to take care of them, how to raise them, what the intricacies are. So in the grow tent that I have, if I jam that thing packed full with larvae, more than likely it's going to generate more heat than it needs to. So I'm going to have to vent that or get a fan and vent it, something like that. Like there's going to be things I'm going to need to tweak out of that. But I'd like to see and get hands on, right, and then share that with you guys, because there's just not. I haven't been able to find a lot of that info out there. So just a man with a plan to prove them wrong. Yeah, prove them wrong. Yeah, prove me right. Just having fun. How do you deal with excess inventory? I'm still looking for my first sale, and I have to hit see more here, and have more than enough beetles and mealworms. That's a good problem to have, Keith, because you want to have some in reserve to handle any potential issues, or like a surge all of a sudden if somebody finds you, or you have a post that gets some attention, things like that. So excess inventory. Are you asking excess inventory about mealworms, beetles, pupa, all of the above? Throw out some more context for me there. But from a mealworm perspective, like that's my current. I don't want to say like my log jam, but those are the things that I tend to have to deal with the most, because we'll harvest on like a Tuesday, and I'm not shipping out till the following Monday, right? I might have local orders and whatnot, but the bulk of it goes out that following Monday. All stages, okay. Sorry, I see a comment here from Shannon that might be applicable. I have more worms than I know what to do with, as they sell locally fairly slowly. My local post office is half hour away, so I'm out of ideas on how to sell. Okay. So let's tackle some of this together then. So Keith, like the larva stage, the mealworm form, honestly has been the easiest. Deprive them of wheat bran or substrate, whatever it is that your substrate is, and moisture, and they just won't transition as quickly. That came from, I think we talked about that on one of these sessions, and Velazar threw that out. So I've been playing with that, and actually here in the office, you can see these trays here. Terrible camera work. I need a better camera guy. There's that Inkbird thing testing it in here too. So I've got those trays there. I've got half with some wheat bran and half without, just to see what happens. The room's kept at 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Right now I turn it up a little bit because I'm in here, so it's 60. But the temperature seems to have less of an impact than I thought. Sorry, I blocked that whole thing there for a second. The other thing I'm doing, I've got the same sort of setup inside the farm where it's 78, 80 degrees Fahrenheit and higher moisture. And what they'll do is that they will pupate a little bit, but it's not overwhelming. So deprive them of wheat bran or substrate. I keep going to wheat bran because that's what I use. Deprive them of substrate and moisture, and they'll just kind of sit. At some point, you're going to need to, weigh them, make sure they're not losing too much weight. I usually refresh these at least once a week, and I haven't had any issues. So that's what I'm trying to do now is build out a process to deal with any of that. Because there are lulls, right? Like here in Missouri, especially like at the end of fall into moving into winter, the bluebirds all tend to go away. They'll come back eventually, but there's this dip in the bird stores and what they're ordering because the bluebirds have headed out. So that's starting to recover, but it always happens. And so then you have this bolus of mealworms kind of just sitting around. And I found that Velazar's method of depriving them seems to work out pretty good. That will then slow down your pupa problem, right? So then you don't have excess pupa. That then turns into maybe an alternate problem of you want to make sure you're actually still pupating enough, right? So be cognizant of that if you're pulling your pupa from those mealworms that have been just sitting around transitioning. If you're going to have a lull or you're going to try to slow them down, make sure that you're still allocating enough for your pupation bins. And then that in turn then slows down the beetles too, right? And from a beetle perspective, what I'll do is if I have an overage of that, so I actively sell the freshly hatched beetles because we're constantly producing them here for the colony. If there's a lull in that for some reason in those sales, and it's not high, there's not, that's not a large percentage of the business. But if there is a lull there, then what I'll do is all of a sudden I'll have an extra 5 trays of beetles, let's say. I'll just cull the oldest beetle trays that I have and replace them with the fresher beetles. Because from an efficiency perspective, you want to have fresher beetles because they're going to lay more eggs than those older beetles. So that's how I'm currently dealing with the excess. And then I'll take those beetles and feed them to the chickens here, Ben's chickens sometimes, or they just go in the cull bucket to go back to biomass for the farm next door. And then from like a sales perspective, you're running out of ideas on how to sell. Shannon, what's been working or not working? What have you been doing so far? And where might we have some untapped stuff? Bryce, Justin, BSF is high risk and the bedding is always wet. Also, the processing the bedding frass is different than you have to do dry, and then you have to dry it first. And those are the things that I'm curious about, because like with the new sifting machine, it's built for sifting soil. And so I wonder, or one of the uses is for sifting soil. There's a whole slew of things that it says it will sift. Mealworms were not on there though. But we'll see if, like how that's what I want to get the hands on for, right? Like if it's super wet and moist, how am I going to separate that out, separate the larvae out? Those are all things that, I'm curious about tackling and finding some solutions for. So it's a good way. Like I'm a process-driven person. I want to build processes based on different criteria. My best isn't always your best or Umar's best, right? Like we all have different versions of what's best for us and for our farms and for our customers. So I'm curious to see what I can build out there. The bedding is more slurry than soil damp. Yeah, that'll be fun to mess with, right? Gloves. So, yeah. Let's see. Blake, you can have your mail carrier pick up your shipments for free with USPS on their website. You can. The problem is now you're putting them through more potential danger on the ride from your postal truck or from the pickup at your location to where they need to be at the post office. I think we're currently like towards the end of the postal route. We get our mail pretty late in the day, but let's say we were early, then they're going to sit in that truck for who knows how long until they get back to the post office, and it's not a temperature controlled environment, and so you're running that risk by having them pick up. So I'll do the pickup sometimes for like frass shipments that I'll send out. Frass shipments? I put all that together. I'll have them pick up for that sometimes, but for live insects, I take it and drop it off. That way I'm controlling what that environment is, how long they're in it, and take that risk out. So that is probably a good question to ask the post office, like where in your route are you? And if it's late, then that might be beneficial. Also, if you are at your location, whether it's home, building, whatever it is, if you're at that location when they come by and you can go out and give it to them, that's also reducing the risk, right? Like if you have to set it out, right? It's cold in a lot of locations now. Maybe it gets too much sun. Like those are all things you're going to have to take into account. All right, I see a question down here. Umar, how to get rid of rice moth? I have a few around. Somebody just posted in the co-op group, I feel like, with having a moth problem. I don't know if that was you, Umar, or not, but the treatment of your substrate, if that's possible, like either heat treating or deep freezing, to take care of anything that might be in the substrate. But once they're there, I use these sticky traps. I have one right there. So this thing right here, it comes in just a tube, and then you hang it, spread it out, and they're attracted to that, and they get stuck on it. Tried to cover it again. There's not too many right now. That was for flies. We had a real bad fly scenario this summer in Missouri, and so they were everywhere. And so I had one of those in the office to take care of the flies. But any sort of like sticky type trap. I took a plastic container. I thought I might have it in here. I took a plastic, I think it's a 1 gallon or half gallon container, and cut it in half. Basically, it had a base to it, and then as it went up to the top where the lid was, it kind of channeled to it, right? And so I just cut that thing in half, flipped it upside down, and put it down inside of itself, and then put some brown sugar water and some honey down in the bottom, And the idea that where I got this from, somewhere online, is the intent or idea is that the bugs will go to that, get stuck in the water, and then they're stuck in the water and they drown. What I found worked really well was the flies. I don't know if they figured, like, I don't know if I had the level wrong or something, but they were getting in there, they were getting their drink, and they were getting out. So it wasn't really working. So I put a fly trap, one of the sticky traps, right in there, so the scent of that drew them in, and then they got stuck on that trap, and I just changed the traps out once they were full. That worked really well. Let's see, Bryce, have you tried getting bee camp trays in USA at buy from their Quebec branch? No, I haven't seen that. I gotta take a look at that. Not Dubias. Dubys.com. I don't have that exact link up. I don't have the live running on my PC, so I'll go click that link. You buy from their Quebec branch. Very cool. Oh, gotta put the ag on the end. It went to some specific lawyer's page there. Oh, very cool. Beacon Camp. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Oh, there they are. 1990 CAD. Yeah, that's the same price, stock price without bulk purchasing that I've seen. Interesting. Very cool. Thank you for that. Wally, I use the stickies too a couple times a year for fungus gnats. Fungus gnats, like all the cool things that I've learned, Wally, from what you're doing there in your isopod substrate. I've heard great things about the Catchy device. Kai, good morning. Welcome. My dad uses one of those UV bug zapper things in his bug room. Pretty much annihilates everything. I went with the plastic cup or container method, just to not have to buy something. At the time I was focused on, when was it? That was summer. So that was getting that room squared away, air conditioning, all that fun stuff. And I didn't have a lot of reserves. And now everything I look at is, oh, that will buy me X number of more trays that I need. So instead of getting something that would be good to have, if it's not mandatory, it's not on the list right now. Because I've got 3 more pallets of trays coming. Yeah, so I didn't buy a device. I've heard good things about those though, the UV bug zappers. So if I start to have more problems, like in the wintertime now, things are pretty calm. So that's the other thing is once we got past that bolus in the summer, I think there was one last push in fall, and I was just on the edge of like, oh, this is unbearable. You know, like I need to fix that. Once it started to calm down, everything was okay. I think the last time I remember having problems was actually on your live, Wally, when I was in the farm. There were like 3 flies that just, stubborn little boogers, hadn't gone into the trap yet, and so they kept coming over and bothering me. I was doing this through the live. I'm like, I gotta stop doing that. All right, we have about 17 minutes left. If anybody has any questions, anything they want to see, Ben is currently in the insect room doing beetle swap. I could go in there, just would have to put a mask on, and you probably won't hear my audio very well. But I can get into the front room just fine. Are the blue trays Bryce posted locking stackable? Yes. So the Beacon Camp trays are stackable. The problem with them, let's actually, I keep grabbing that thing the wrong way. Let's go out to the front part here, and I'll show you the one thing I don't like about them. There's 2 things. But yeah, they stack inside of each other. So let's take a look at this tall one here. The bottoms are set in such a way that they sit right inside of each other. So that guy nests in there basically. And then there's the top part. So they nest inside of each other. The downside is they don't like all the way nest down inside of each other. So when these things get shipped, they literally get shipped like this. Like here's the pallet. These are still the new ones from the last shipment that we got. It just takes a lot of physical space to get these things shipped out. And so like it would be pretty interesting if there was a way for somebody to figure out how to nest these things inside of each other, but still have them stackable like this. That way they could ship for a much better price, I would think. The other thing that I would like to see is, and I know why they're like this. Let's put this down. So all 4 of these corners are open, right? And I get that. You need the good airflow in there. That helps the mealworms. I've seen very positive results from these trays. So, you know, they're built with a purpose. They're tested, and they work. From a functional utility perspective, I would love for one of these, like I'm curious what would happen if one of these sides was whole, so that you could pour this out easier without the mealworms catching on to all this stuff and hanging on and having them kind of come out of the side here. Like when you take this and you go to pour it into whatever you're sifting from or with, if it's smaller than the tray, right? Like this is almost, oh, it does fit in there. There's not a lot of wiggle room there. So this might be good to expand out a little bit, because then all you have to do is just literally dump in like that. But if there was a corner that was solid, I feel like it would work better. But I don't know what that does to the airflow, right? Like, I'm sure that's going to have some impacts. So, yeah, opportunity there for somebody who wants to play around potentially. Ship 85 to a pallet. Yes. So this is the pallet they actually showed up on. They were actually taller, so they're shipped, I think 17 tall. There's 5 stacks, so whatever 85 divided by 5 is. If somebody wants to do the quick mental math there. But yeah, I ordered 2 pallets worth. I got 170 of them. I've got 3 coming. So I need to get that. I think total now we have 1,278 or 1,268. I broke 2 of them, and we'll need to get up to about 2,200 to have that insect room back there full and max production. So duct tape one corner of the tray. They'll climb the duct tape, won't they? If they get a hold of it, and then they'll grab onto it. Needs to be slick. Maybe the packing tape, but then you've got to maintain and mess with something. Scrolling a bit. Wonder if you could get your own design and send it off to China. Last time I checked, it was under $200 for the mold fee. Mold fees right now, it was looked into, and I want to say now they were in the U.S. it was like $20,000 to $30,000 to make a mold. China would not be $200, I don't think, not for a quality mold. If you know a place to get a $200 mold, though, that you might have an opportunity there. But getting into the tray production thing doesn't get me out of bed in the morning. So trying to focus on what makes me happy, because the other things that I have to do, like accounting, it's not fun, but you have to do it. But if I had to do it all day, I'd go insane. Set the tape level with the bottom of the lower opening. Right, so let's say we set the tape level. Let me turn it around. So if we set the tape level here, right? So tape this off so that it's solid. As you pour it, they're going to come in contact with it and cling onto it, grab it. It's going to get dirty, dusty, have to be replaced. That becomes more of a nuisance than it's worth, I think. It might be worth a test, but depending on what sort of tape you use, even if I put the packing tape on here, that would eventually get caught, get gunky, have to be messed with. Previous version had 4 solid corner. Yeah, the 6205, but it was for a different purpose too, wasn't it? Didn't it? Was it for mealworms? I can't remember, Bryce. I can't. It is not the only mold cost, but the minimum production run. Yeah, you do have to, like, once you have the mold, then you have to make so many of them. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. Fill with caulking or silicone. It needs to be slick though. the caulking or the silicone, they'll be able to grab onto, won't they? It was for mealworms. Huh. Yeah. Yeah. Need another drink. I should just bring it out with me. All right. I like the way you're tackling that, Keith. Tossing out ideas, seeing what might stick. All right, we have 10 more minutes. Plus, you have to do it to 1,200. Yeah, I would have to do it, rinse, repeat 1,200 times, and then maintain those 1,200. And eventually, it'll be 2,200 once I get there. Oh. Yeah, it's a nuisance. So I would say it's a nuisance. It's not a crippling production efficiency scenario. And with that new sifter, if I make that funnel a little wider, wider, then I can just literally dump it in and shake it around. The BSF tray is larger. Yes, the BSF tray is larger. I'm going to use, just for this initial test run, Bryce, of the BSF and tinkering around with it, I'm going to use this 6206, the one I have now. Since I have it, I'm going to need them for the mealworms. I'll temporarily, it's going to take me some time to scale up to that level. I'm not pulling in external larvae or beetles in order to increase production. I'm going to do that organically myself by just holding back some, so that's going to take me a while to build that up. And I want to do that for a couple of reasons. One, I don't want the cost of having to purchase mealworms. There's a benefit there, right? Like time frame, I get that. But I don't want to do that right now. There's also a risk to bringing in external mealworms. And then the other thing is, as we scale things up, there's going to be things we need to tackle from a process perspective. And so I would like to take my time with that. I have the luxury of taking that time, right? From a financial perspective, things are okay. From a business perspective, things are okay. And so it's not a rush to try to get everything squared away quickly. So I'm going to use those trays that I ordered for the BSF test run, and then continuing to expand production. And then once I'm done with that BSF test run, maybe I'll do a few of them, just depends on how things are going. Then they can always be reused then for mealworms. And if the BSF stuff takes off, then it's probably worth getting the appropriate tray size designed for the black soldier fly. We would just make trays out of Legos. We could. You'd need a lot of Legos. With Craigle. What is Craigle? I gotta Google that. Is that a thing that's going to be safe for me to Google? Craigle. Craigle. Brickopedia, the Lego Wiki. What is this? Sorry, I really enjoy Legos, so this is interesting. Lego movie. Oh wow! I'll do some more reading on that later. Thank you, Kai. I love the VSF, reproductive but higher risk. Lots more smell. Protein dried is less, and frass has lower NPK rate. Crickets have highest. Let's see, protein dried is less. What if it's extracted? I've been researching that a little bit, getting the oil out of it to have that as a potential product, both for the black soldier fly and for the mealworms. So I've been doing some light reading, not super intensive research yet, but like getting an expeller and extracting the oil out of it. Curious what that might be like. There's another. I missed a comment. Cut a piece of plexiglass the size you need and glue it to the area. That will be smooth. Not glued, but maybe insert every time going to pour. Yeah. It's another thing to have to do. And so is the time of clipping or unclipping and putting on, would that be beneficial at all? Yeah. How do you get away with Shannon? Another comment I missed. How do you get away with shipping in USPS priority boxes, both profit-wise, flat rate is about 10, and because the website says no live animals in priority boxes, I would like to start shipping. Shannon, I'm not seeing the approved live animal shipments, but I think I might have missed it. Do you have a link? Wally, I can confirm. I learned this from Justin down at Sunshine State Mealworms, or Sunshine State Mealworms. So he actually mentioned that on one of the live sessions too, that you're technically not allowed to ship live insects in those boxes. However, I've never had an issue with it. I've been doing it for years. So I'm not sure, like, it doesn't seem enforced, but at any point in time, they could potentially tell you, hey, you can't do that. So right now, Shannon, that's actually a really interesting question, because this week I learned that so I use the regional A1 box and the regional B1 box primarily. And then I use a larger box, like a 15 by 10 by 6 to ship larger quantities of mealworms. But those regional boxes are cost effective. So to ship here, like locally, to ship around the state of Missouri is like $8 to $9. And I have no, special unique USPS account, business account, anything like that. It's just straight through, I use Shippo, SHIPPO. But there's other places like Pirate Ship. There are other tools you can use that will get you those discounts that you're not going to get if you just go to USPS.com and go to ship something. So that's probably what you're seeing is the higher rate, unfortunately. But go check out, like, Pirate Ship will let you like go and play with what would it cost to ship somewhere from you, so that you can take a look at that. But one thing to keep in mind, and I just learned this past week, the regional boxes are going away. So I've been in a frenzy this week doing all sorts of assessment and research and testing on weights and sizes and what size box do I absolutely need. So I've been looking into cubic, CUBIC. There's a cubic rate with USPS that if you fit within their boundaries of those cubic values, and it doesn't have to be a cube, it just needs to fall within the different tiers, then you'll be able to maximize your shipping costs from a low perspective. You'll be able to get a lower rate and still get a size that's usable. So I went through all that, and what I landed on, I think, is my notebook's at home. I think a 5 by 5 by 5 box for small quantities, a 10 by 10 by 6 for larger and kits, and then the 14 or 15 by 10 by 6 for larger quantities. I was kind of caught off guard by that the USPS announcement. One, that I didn't see an announcement. Somebody commented on a video, and that's how I learned they were going away. Like, I've been dropping off regional boxes for years at my post office, and nobody said anything to me in the last couple of months about how they're going away. So I have some questions about that. But as you check into shipping, the reason I went with the regional boxes originally is because the shipping cost for a regional box is higher than if you use your own box. So you're paying for the box, right? So USPS will give those to you for free, but the regional rate includes the cost of that box in it. And so you can ship with your own, and then it just becomes a volume perspective. Like, if you want to buy 25 boxes from, I used to buy boxes from Uline. I do buy some now, but I'm actually talking with a company to get bulk and have my own die cut made, etc. But when I started, it was just getting those free boxes because it was a quick, easy thing to do. And I didn't, when I did the research at the time, I was missing out on maybe like 20 or 30 cents per shipment, if that. And sometimes it was higher. And so at the time, I just said, I'm just going to use regional A1s and B1s, and I'll mess around with that later when the time comes. And the time came because those boxes are going away. So I have to get new templates. I have to start shipping with new boxes. I'll play around with that and get all those posted of what I'm using and whatnot. So, Wally, I get the sense that time is wrapping up, right? So we're about a minute away. There's a couple other comments in here that I'll tackle, but I will throw this out. This is going to get processed by Facebook. It'll get posted to the co-op group. I'll then grab it and post it to YouTube, so it's there as well for the folks that don't have access. But if there's anything in here that I've missed, I'll go back through and look at comments and questions as well and reply to those. There were some comments that I saw that got replied to that I didn't see, so I'll go take a look at those. So if you guys are headed out, thank you so much for joining. I'm going to stick around for a couple more minutes and answer a couple questions here. But thank you guys for jumping on, and I will see you next week. When is the one next week? I want to say it's Tuesday. Let me go take a quick look at the calendar. It is Wednesday. So Wednesday next week from 2 to 3 Central. And again, if you want an email on Tuesday for the co-op event on Wednesday, let me know. Shoot me a DM. So thank you guys for coming. Love it. All right, so let me go back and look at Bryce. I think you were replying to my question about, or my comment about extraction, either solvent extract or CO2 high pressure to extract protein and amino acids. Got it. I'll add that to the Google research list. Umar, skin shedding and mealworms, do you sell them? If yes, what is the price per kilogram? I don't. I could collect them. It's something I looked at a long time ago. I'm really curious about the like how they could be utilized. I had a cannabis grower locally who was playing with them. I need to touch base with them because I think they stopped using it. But I'm curious if it, like, what level of chitin does it have? What are the properties in it that might be beneficial? Can it trigger those things without having to use the frass, et cetera, et cetera? So I don't have an output for it yet or a market for it, but it is something that is not too difficult to collect in the event that there becomes a value add product that we could add to the mealworm farm scenario. All right, shiptime.com. I've not heard of them, Bryce. Let me go shiptime.com. There's a lot of different options. That's one of the things that's almost overwhelming when I started shipping originally is all the different options, right? And you go to sign up with somebody and then you're paying for that. Am I getting the right deal, et cetera, et cetera? And I would say, find one that you like from a user interface perspective. Like Pirate Ship, as I played with it in the last few weeks, I did not like it compared with Shippo. But I'm used to Shippo because I started using them. So I think that might be one of the scenarios, Shannon, is to just play with one. I use Shippo all the time, every week to ship. So if you have any questions about that one, or you want to see a demo or have questions, whatever, I'm happy to chat with you about that. And then Pirate Ship, I can show just the simple demo stuff I've played with them. Bryce, you're in Canada. Interesting. Is ship time just a Canadian scenario? I wonder if it is. No, it's got United States in there. Yeah. Well, I'll take a look. Awesome. All right. If anybody has any last minute things they want to throw out there, please do. Our next session will be on Wednesday next week. It's already scheduled, posted out there in the events section of Facebook. One of the things I am working on, I did order a different camera, and then I'm going to play around with StreamYard to potentially do streaming across multiple platforms. One, for me, like from a selfish perspective, it would let me do lives across multiple platforms for folks that are asking without having to do separate individual ones. And then from a bandwidth perspective, like personal time perspective, there's a limited amount of that. But from a bandwidth technology perspective, I can't have multiple lives going at the same time. They'll bog down. So my hope is that I'll be able to try StreamYard in the near future and have a little bit different look and feel to this maybe, but still do the live sessions in Facebook and then add them into YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, etc. So just get more collaboration, more exposure from folks, and more ideas across the board. My dairy cow isopods eat the shedding. Too bad I don't need millions of them to stay on top of it. Yeah. Throw in recently dead pupa and mealworms. My isopods love it. Yeah, the dead material, right? I like it. Thanks again, Justin. Hope your wildest dreams come true. Thanks, Kai. We'll see, right? I appreciate that. All right, folks, we'll go ahead and wrap up. Thank you guys for jumping on. I always appreciate the comments, questions, things like that. If there's anything else you want to see, shoot me a message, post it on here, throw it in the co-op group. And thank you again for all the good back and forth. Have a good rest of your day and an awesome weekend.